All right, so welcome everybody. My name is Jen Claudini. I am a librarian, usually at the Southeast campus, but like everybody else, I am at home today. I'm going to be giving you a very quick and dirty, fast overview of finding media for your courses. I've made a handout, first things first. I've made a nice Google Doc handout with the things that I plan to go over today and links to resources. I'm going to send it through in the chat here. It's tinyurl.com, find media PCC. We're going to kind of just go from that. I'm going to share my screen in just a moment. And that's how this whole thing's going to work today. So let me attempt to share my screen with you. So as I mentioned, this is kind of a very quick overview, and I already have anxiety that I am going to just give you a lot of things and it's going to be overwhelming, and it's hard, right, to think about how to make the best use of 30 minutes in an online session. So the first thing I want to say to all of you is if you don't remember anything else, I really hope that you will remember this first bit, which is that each SAC has a subject liaison librarian. I just feel very, very lucky to work at the PCC libraries because my library colleagues are all fantastic and they really want to help both instructors and students. And so if the first link on the handout that I've made for you takes you to the list of folks who can help you find media for your classes. So if nothing else, please remember that you don't have to do all of this on your own. You can contact your liaison librarian, or if you know a different librarian from your campus and you'd rather reach out to them, that's totally fine too. We'll either help you find stuff, we'll point you in the right direction. Same sort of thing that we say to your students, it applies to you as well. So if nothing else, remember that we can help you. Okay, subject liaison librarian list, first link. Great. The next thing I wanted to do was give you my intentions for this session and give you a chance to tell me if there's something else you have in mind. So what I have in mind today for this 30-minute session is to first talk about how to find media in the library's collection. We have streaming videos, we have ebooks, we have access to articles in our article databases, we have access to art in some art databases, and then of course we are librarians, so we have made 1 million guides about everything, and there's a couple that I want to show you. That's the first chunk. Second chunk I have in mind is open educational resources. Many of you may know that I do a lot of work with these types of resources at the college, trying to help instructors explore and find resources that are free to your students and flexibly copyrighted so that you can adapt them, alter them, share them, print them, and so on. So those things, OER includes things like textbooks, tutorials, images, assignments, and so on. We'll do a brief overview of that. And then the third thing that I had in mind for today is to give you some tricks about how to use Google, some fancy librarian Google searching tricks to find copyright flexible images, different file types, assignments, readings, and so on. Okay, so that's what I had in mind. Are there other thoughts or questions or things that you thought that this session would cover? If so, either chime in with your mic or list them in the chat.
Hi, Jen. Usha here.
Yes.
I know this meeting is only 30 minutes, but how do we use assessments that are available for a...
Okay, I'm making a note. How to use assessments that are available. Okay.
Thank you.
If I can get to that, I will. If not, I know we have an appointment to talk about things generally, but it's not a quick answer. A lot of that has to do with employing assessments in your LMS, and sometimes it depends on the file you find, how easily it is to kind of like suck into D2L. Sometimes it means you get the content and you have to recreate it. If we have time, we'll go a little bit more into that, but the overall answer is you might find stuff in all different file types and you have to be flexible, reach out to your instructional support folks. and ask for some help in trying to like get it from one file to another. Okay, anything else from folks that they want me to think they had in mind? Okay, well, let's move on to the next component that I wanted to talk with you about. The first component, which is streaming videos and ebooks in the library. We'll go to, there's a page about these links take you to some specific library pages with instructions. But first I wanted to show you, let me close my couple of tabs I don't need. First, I wanted to show you that you can find streaming videos and electronic books in the library by just searching the library's catalog on the PCC Library's homepage. So we're at pcc.edu/library. The ebooks and videos I'm going to show you that we provide, almost all of them, nearly all of them, allow for unlimited amount of users at the same time. So if you found, for example, a portion of an ebook that you'd like your students to access, you're not gonna run into problems where only one or two of them can view it at a time. We try to buy almost everything so that it facilitates unlimited users. Same with our electronic videos. So on the library's homepage, using the default search tab, books, videos, and more, you can do keyword searching. So let's say perhaps we're looking for resources on supply chain. Okay, we have patience, especially in a webinar. All right, and up come our results. You'll hear me say over and over again in this short amount of time that one of my big tips for searching for media in all of these resources is to ignore your results screen for the first 3 seconds and look around on the page for ways to limit and filter. The library's catalog on the left side allows you to click on things that will control the format. So we have ebooks as a limiting option, and then streaming video, we call it e-video and e-audio. So you can do one or the other here. If we click on ebooks or e-audio video and then apply our filter, we won't see any of the physical books. We'll only see the ebooks and the audio and video files. When you're browsing the results screen, if you look above the title of the resource, you can see what kind of format this item is in. So these first few are ebooks. You might have to scroll to see a video, might not come up in this particular screen. But I could always uncheck ebooks here, get rid of that on the filter, and only see the e-video results now. So for any of these, if you're interested in exploring or sharing them, you can click on the title. And then there's this view link down below, and you follow that into the collection that offers it. So often instructors ask, how do I get this to my student? There's usually a few different ways to link to the resource for your students, but I almost always, for my own students, give them the permalink from this page. If you click on permalink and then you copy the permalink, this is what I would put in D2L, and I usually would do it along with a screen capture with like a red arrow pointing to this link here. Different collections have different like ways to link to their things, and so sometimes it can get a little bit messy if you try to go into the collection and link to them directly. That's something where if you want a more direct link, you can always ask a librarian. I'll show you on the handout that I've made to you too. I've linked to a page that gives you guidance about how to link to library resources. We have a lot of instruction about that. The reason that it gets complicated is because if students are accessing the resources from off of campus, they have to be queued to log in and authenticate because a lot of this stuff is behind a paywall. So we have to make sure that they're able to, like, you know, go through the library's authentication system, and that's part of why it's complicated, or a little, it's not, you can't just copy the URL from the top of the browser in many cases, so just be aware of that. Another trick, librarian trick, and perhaps some of you who did research back in the card catalog days, you'll remember subject headings. We have subject headings in our online environment as well. So sometimes if you scroll down a little bit to the item details, these subject headings can help you, if they're clickable, they can help you find other resources. If you find one good thing, you can use those clickable subject headings to find other things. So some standard librarian tricks. All right, any questions about ebooks and e-videos from the library? We have, I guess there's a few other things I'd like to tell you about them. Streaming videos, we have, let's see if I have the page open. That link takes you to a page about streaming videos provided by the library. The first two large collections, this academic video online and films on demand, those are both included in the catalog search that I just demonstrated. Then we have a third resource called Canopy. And usually when I'm searching for streaming videos for instructors, I will start by doing a catalog search. And if I'm not finding what I'm looking for, then I might come to this page and do an additional search in this Canopy resource. So Canopy, when you can search in the Canopy resource, and then if you find something that's useful, you'll be cued to ask the library to purchase the video, right? And so anything that we've already purchased, it'll appear in that catalog search that I demonstrated at first. But if there's something available in Canopy that somebody hasn't asked us to purchase, then it won't appear in that catalog search. So anyway, first step, search the catalog. Second step, come to the streaming videos page and take a look in Canopy. All right, now I think I've told you what I need to tell you about streaming videos and ebooks. Does anybody have questions about searching for those resources using the library?
Jen?
Yes.
Usha here. Are the videos that are available through the library, can we assume that they are captioned?
Yes, that's a great question. For all three of those collections, it is a priority for the library to, we don't work with vendors who don't provide captions. So yes, you should be able to assume that all of the videos provided through the library are captioned. If you run into anything where you're seeing it's not captioned or there's a problem with the captioning, you should let us know.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions about that? Okay. Next, I want to just quickly show you or remind you, many of you maybe have seen us demonstrate these sorts of lessons for your students. If you're back on the PCC Library's homepage, pcc.edu/library, you can use the Articles tab. If you do a keyword search in the box, you'll search 2 of our large article databases, but there's also the Choose Other Databases link down below. If I open that up, this might be a way to find articles that can serve your classes. Many of our article databases provide access not only to scholarly articles, which maybe aren't as useful for our student classes, but also articles in trade publications, magazines, and newspapers. So it depends on what you're trying to find, but it may serve your classes to be able to offer some articles and databases, articles from our databases. You can navigate our databases by subject here, or if you know the name of your database, you can navigate in that way too. Each database, if you click on the more, it'll provide you with a description of what is included there. That's another one where you can ask your liaison if there's a specific database to search in that might suit you or serve your needs. I'll also mention, do we have anybody on the line from art? Is anybody looking for like pieces of art? Okay, no art, but just as an FYI, oh yes, looks like a yes from art. So if you go to arts and design, we have access to this large database, Art Store. Whoop. Art Store provides access to many pieces of copyrighted art from collections around the world. You can log into Art Store. I almost always use the advanced search and change the field. Like if I have an artist in mind, I might search by creator, but there are other options as well. And this gives you really a lot of access to pieces of art. And I am happy to provide any instruction or help you find resources on how to use ArtStore. So I see Andrea asking, is there a library video that walks students through this info in this manner that we could incorporate into our classes? Are you asking, Andrea, if there's a video about finding media or about finding art in ArtStore?
Generally finding articles in the databases.
Ah, yes. Yes, we do have.
Because I know there are some library videos. There's some videos about how to evaluate a source or how, like sometimes I feel like I'm recreating the wheel in my 122. And I'm thinking, you guys probably have already made this video.
Thank you for asking. I am glad to be able to point to a link on our handout from today. So yes, we have videos on all sorts of things, including how to find articles. On the handout here, we have this link to the information literacy teaching materials and the library's YouTube channel. That's where we upload most of our videos. So you should be able to find pretty decent videos on how to navigate both finding books as well as finding articles using those links. I don't want to spend all our time demoing.
No,
but
that's fine.
yeah, of course. Yes, we should have videos on how to use our stuff. And if you don't see what you need there, you can totally get in contact with us. I've also provided links to some subject research guides. These are, you know, our audience there is intended to be students. And then some examples of course-specific guides that we've made for people's courses. You know, we're not able to come and be guests in your class right now. So it might be a great time to connect with a librarian, either on your campus or your subject librarian, to create a tailored guide, including the videos that might be useful for your students and resources that might be useful for your students. So I included some examples there. Great, fantastic. So quickly on the articles, that was ArtStore and the article databases, but I wanted to just demo same advice that I gave you before, which is after you do your keyword search, look around on the page for ways to limit to the things you want, because the article databases almost always allow you to limit by format or type. So here you can see that we could look for specifically trade publications or magazines on the keywords that we're searching for. And so that might help you to find articles that are suitable for your classes. Okay, any other questions on articles and library databases at this moment? All right, the next big thing, first I'll before I skip over, this third link here under PCC Library Media tells you about those details about how to link to our resources. It's not terribly complicated, but you just can't copy the browser link often. So be sure to visit that page as you are finding things. All right, next, the COVID-19 offers guide is like gigantor, full of all kinds of resources. Some of my colleagues have assembled this fantastic guide that compiles. Many of you may have heard that a lot of the vendors and publishing companies are offering resources for free temporarily. We've tried to assemble those resources here. We have the educational offers organized by subject and resources there. We've also tried to compile a link of resources to free streaming video Some of these are temporary streaming services that we don't usually have access to, but we do because companies are offering them temporarily during this pandemic. So this guide has a lot of useful resources. I would come back if I were you. Next, I want to quickly talk about OER. I know we only have a couple of minutes left, and I want to be sure to give you information about using Google. But I tried, we have a very large open educational resources guide that I've created, and it gives advice on how to find open educational resources as well as how to adopt them, create them, and share them. So if that's something you're interested in, visit our guide. I selected 2 of the big open educational resource repositories. First, Oer Commons is sort of an umbrella repository where you might find all sorts of things, right? Like it could be an entire course shell, it could be a tutorial, it could be images, it could be assignments. If you go to, oh, this is Oer Commons here, you can do keyword searching and you can limit by type and education level. Same advice when you're exploring Oer Commons. After you do your search, look for the ways that the resource offers for you to filter your results. That's my librarian pro tip for the day. The next OER repository that I listed here is called the Open Textbook Library. This one is very useful if you are specifically looking for textbooks. So some of our instructors might use a piece of a textbook from the Open Textbook Library, some of the resources from OER Commons, and then perhaps some streaming videos and some ebooks in order to replace the textbook that they otherwise would have had to ask their students to buy. Or all of these options, you know, you can also offer as supplementary materials to help support your students in their learning. Questions about that's, I know it's like, how can I even ask if you have questions with only giving a very quick overview, but I'd like to pause to give you a moment to ask questions about that if you have them. Okay, you are always welcome to make an appointment with me. I have an appointment later with Usha to talk about open educational resources. You'll see in any of the emails that I send to you that in my signature, there's a link to an appointment calendar. I'm happy to talk with you about finding open and alternative resources for your classes. So happy to help. All right, last on the list for today are Google tricks. I have a link to the Google Advanced Search screen, which allows you some power to manipulate results in ways that perhaps you hadn't considered before. But I also want to show you, if we just do a regular Google search, a very big, broad keyword search, you probably know that you can limit by images, news, and video here up on the top. I use that frequently. Oops, spell my search correctly. Oh, well. You can also click on settings and come to advanced search. Under advanced search, you have options here on the bottom. The ones that I use most frequently are the usage rights that will help me find, especially if we're looking for images, things that are flexibly copyrighted. So I don't have to worry about putting it in a handout that I'm then going to be making available and sharing with my students. Even with copyrighted images, you have a lot of fair use, but if I want to avoid the question of fair use and use flexibly copyrighted materials, or I want to share whatever it is that I'm creating more broadly, you can use this usage right filter to specify that you need things that usually they have a Creative Commons license, copyright license. You can select free to use or share, free to use or share or modify. The other piece that I find myself using in the advanced search is the file type here. So you can search, for example, for PowerPoint. So perhaps we do a search that's like evolution lesson limited to PowerPoints. And then I might see other educators' PowerPoint slides that they've assembled for lesson. You may also do the same sort of thing for PDF. I might use PDF when I'm looking for assignments. So maybe I do some kind of keyword, supply chain assignments, and I limit to PDF. So that can be helpful. The other thing that I wanted to tell you about Google, so if we're doing a Google search and we say evolution, I suppose really what I wanted to do is go back to my search and say I want hits on evolution, and I want them to be free to use or share. So often a lot of the results that you get when you do a Creative Commons search like that for things that are free to use or share, you'll get a lot of results from Wikipedia, because Wikipedia articles are licensed with Creative Commons licenses. So, I mean, on the one hand, sometimes there's useful stuff that you might be able to incorporate from Wikipedia into your lessons. If what you want to do, though, is say, I'd like to see everything that has a Creative Commons license with my keyword, but I want to throw out the Wikipedia results, where I don't need to look at them, you can use the minus sign in Google to kick out results hitting on your keywords. So this is like Boolean searching not. So if we do evolution minus Wikipedia with free to use or share, we'll be able to kick out those Wikipedia results and only see things hitting on our results that don't include that. So of course you can do that with other keywords as well. The last trick I want to show you, let me make sure, I think I covered the things. Just quickly also, there's kind of a shortcut. If we do just a search for Wikipedia and then we click on images, it's retaining my advanced search from before. But if we just did our Google search for evolution, then we clicked on images, you get a shortcut to the usage rights by clicking on tools. You can come here and select label for reuse or labeled for reuse with modification if it's something you need, something that you want to be able to adapt or change. So just to show you quickly. There's also other filtering components here. I think like one of the main tips I have for you is look around on the page for the options that the page gives you and don't automatically just jump to the results. All right, lastly, in YouTube, same advice. When you're doing searches in YouTube, if you do a keyword search in YouTube, a lot of folks miss this filtering feature. So after you do your keyword search and before you look at your results, you might click on filter and it gives you some options. Like I often use the short and long. I also might use the sort by to see things that have a high view count or a high rating. So sometimes they can help you navigate YouTube to find better videos. All right, I think this is it. Can I take any questions? If those of you who are not able to stay, I'm so glad that you were able to participate. Please feel free to contact me or another librarian with any questions. I'm going to stop the video recording and say thanks everybody for participating in this quick webinar.